Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm Kristen, and today I'm going to show you guys a ton of different ways to make some super cute and easy signs. So let's jump into it. First sign is going to be this 24 by 24 home sign. I picked up this frame and picture from a yard sale. It was only $1, and I did not want the picture on the inside. It was kind of worn, and it looks like someone just kind of glued it to a cardboard piece. So I'm just going to be tearing apart the middle, and I'm just going to be using a bunch of scrap wood I had in my garage to create this home sign. So like I said, I ripped apart the frame and the picture, and then now I'm just using this scrap piece of wainscoting, and this is from Menards. It's like a Lowe's around here, and I think it was $13 for the entire piece, but I have used this on many DIYs, so this is just one of many I have recreated. So this probably only cost me about $3 to make total. And then now I'm just cutting everything to fit the frame. Once everything was cut, I just decided to sand everything down because the edges were pretty rough. I just put the frame right back on top of the piece of board just to make sure it would fit so I could nail this all together. And when I say nail, I mean my husband ended up nailing it for me because I am terrified of a nail gun. And then I just brought it inside and just painted it with some chalk paint. This is just the Linen White by Rust-Oleum. I'm just going to be creating a home sign, so I need an H, an M, and an E, and a wreath. So right now I'm just in the Cricut design space, and I just went to the left hand side and clicked the text and did an H, and this is a Times New Roman. And at the left bottom corner of the H, there is a lock and unlock button, so you can size it to whatever numbers you want. I want all of my letters to be 8 by 8, and then I just go to cut that out. And I am using the premium vinyl by Cricut, and I love this. It is removable, but I just love that it comes in sheets, and I just laid it on my Cricut mat. And then once that was done, I just put it right into my Cricut Explore Air 2. And I am just cutting out the H and the M and the E. And I did the same steps for the M and the E. And if you guys want a better tutorial of the design space, I will leave all my Cricut videos in the description box below. But I thought that if I showed you how to do the H and the M and the E, you kind of start getting bored of this video. So I just wanted to show how that all works. And then I am just going to be weeding everything out after this. To make the O, I wanted something different. This is the premium vinyl as well, but it is in so many pretty colors. I just went to the design space, went to images, typed in wreaths, and chose this one. And then I went to the bottom of the wreath where that lock and unlock button is, clicked it, and sized it to an 8 by 8 because I wanted everything the exact same size. And I'm using this really pretty light teal color. And then once this is cut out, I'm just weeding this on the mat. Sometimes it's just easier this way. I don't normally weed anything on the mat, but some people say it is easier, and I have to agree with them. It is a lot easier if you just decide to weed on the mat. And I'm just going to be using my weeding tool. I'm just going to be laying everything out nicely on my sign or the back of the sign, and I'm just using my scraper. This is a larger one. I love this, especially for large signs or large decals. I did also cut out a chicken, and I just went into the design space and I always use the images. I don't normally make my own, so if you just type in chicken on images with your design space, you can definitely find one. And then this just took me a second to figure out where I wanted everything. I loved that I had this board just because it had lines in it already, so I knew if it was straight or not straight. And then I just used the Cricut transfer paper or transfer tape, and then I just laid it over the H and just started peeling it off so I would have the H in place. You can definitely start with it whatever you want. I decided to go with the H, and then I went on to the M, the E, and then the wreath, and then I just added the chicken in the middle, and I did the same steps every single time. Use the transfer tape to take your M off the back of the paper, and there you go. You guys can make your own sign. I love using my Cricut because I made this sign for only a few dollars. I used items I already had in my home that I just was not using. I had a lot of things in my garage that was kind of getting dusty. I just love being able to save a lot of money and update my decor monthly. Yes, when I say that I like to update my decor, I like to update my decor, and I do update it monthly. And then before I did any of this, I do not normally show this, but I measure everything out. So I knew that these letters were going to be 8x8s just because I decided to take a measuring tape and measure the wood piece I'm using. This is the wainscoting. It just works a little bit better, and I can just kind of eyeball how big things are going to be. If it's a little bit smaller, no big deal. I had such a thick frame to use with this. It didn't even matter, but I love that it's different. It's shaped differently. It's like a barnwood type feel. I just love it, and I love this wreath for an O. And if you guys are new to my channel, you know that I love the farmhouse style, so mostly everything I'll be making is definitely farmhouse style just because it matches my decor. But the best part of this is also that you can definitely resell your items if you chose to. I could definitely resell this. I could make more than I paid to make this, including vinyl. Yeah, you could definitely just make tons of home decor for your house for super cheap. Thrift store, Dollar Tree, whatever you need to do. Definitely save a lot of money. Plus, you could resell and make even more. This is what it looks like when it is all done, and I am so happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks better than I hoped for, and this only took about a day or so to make, which I am thrilled by. Next sign I will be making, I will be using another thrifted frame. I did have to hammer out the glass. This may not have been the best type of thing to do, but this is what I did. I put everything in a box. All the glass stayed in the box just fine. Nobody got cut. I have had worse than glass cuts before, but everything was fine. This frame was also, I think this was $1 or $2 from a garage sale. So like I said, I just pick up the cheapest things, and you can make really high-end decor using a Cricut. So if you guys are thinking about purchasing a Cricut, I highly recommend it because Like I said, I just made these 2 signs for under $5, which is absolutely amazing. This is another piece of wood I had in my garage, and I'm just cutting this down to fit the frame once again. And this frame is actually a 14 by 17, and this has to be probably my favorite sign I have ever made. Okay, and right here, I am actually going to show you guys that I am measuring this. So this kind of looks like on the inside, like a 13 by 9.5. So I would probably actually make all of my decals between like a 8 and a 12 or 11, something in between. I just went to the images in Design Space, typed in spring, and just kind of scrolled through, and I seen this really pretty dandelion. I kind of looked up some like inspirational quotes on Pinterest or on Google just to see what I wanted to make. I kind of wanted to make my own decal. I normally don't do that. I just kind of pick and choose items. I'm just using the Cricut sands or the Cricut sands. It says some see a weed and then some see a wish, and I wasn't sure what lettering I was going to use for the wish part, so you did not see me use that because it probably took me 20-30 minutes, and then I kind of came back and forth with my computer to figure out exactly what I was going to do. And then here I'm just weeding. Sometimes weeding is a little complicated. I was having issues here with the tiny pieces, but really it's super easy once you get the hang of it. I actually like weeding decals. It just seems so relaxing at times, especially when you have a ton to weed out. I like to actually cut out all or weed or cut out all my decals and then start weeding everything at once. It's just some nice relaxing type thing. You can watch a movie. Super fun to do. It's super easy to do, and I'm trying to give you guys the best beginner signs because honestly, using vinyl is one of the easiest things to do when you are using a Cricut. I highly recommend it. I do it all the time. If you guys have seen my videos, you know that I use one constantly. Before I put the transfer tape down and put everything together, I did want to lay everything out to make sure it was going to fit because I think I made some of my items just a little too big, so I kind of played around with it a few times, and then I just used my transfer tape by Cricut, and I started off with the dandelion, and I always reuse my transfer tape until I cannot use it any longer. So you see that I actually had 2 pieces down here and I just put them together. And that is just the way that I like to do things. I love to reuse whatever I possibly can because for starters, people always say that like vinyl is expensive, transfer tape's expensive, but if you reuse it multiple times, it's really not that bad. I started with the second sum, so the lower or the bottom sum, just because I wanted to make sure everything was going to fit on this sign the way I wanted. I normally, like I said, do not make my own decals. Usually I like to cut them all out, attach them all together, and call it a whole day. But I'm super happy with the way this sign turned out. I love the colors of it. I love the way it looks. This has to be one of the favorite things I have ever made. This is definitely going to be going up in my home. This next one I'm going to be making, it says Fresh Flower Market, and I'm going to test out this stencil vinyl by Cricut. This is the first time I've ever used it, but I have to say using it for the first time was absolutely amazing. I just used an image from the Cricut design space. Like I said, I didn't make any of my other ones, so all I did was type in or click on image, typed in flower market, and that is actually what popped up. There wasn't a ton to choose from. And then I just put my stencil vinyl, just like you do with regular vinyl, the color side up, and then I just started cutting out my flower market. I did not go through the whole design space because I literally just pushed the image on the left hand side, typed in flower market, and this is the only one that popped up. So if you're looking for something like this, I loved weeding this stencil. So you're just kind of going to weed opposite of how you do vinyl, because obviously normally when you do vinyl you get rid of what you don't want. Well, this you want to kind of get rid of what you would normally keep with regular vinyl so you can turn it into a stencil. So this definitely looks like a stencil when it's all done. This was super easy to weed. The only part I had issues with the only part I had, I'm just laughing at myself now. The only part I had issues with is the transfer tape, putting the transfer tape on top of the stencil and removing it. It was all kind of removing at once, but have some patience. This does actually work, and this was an amazing stencil just because it was super sticky. I did pick up this wood piece that I'm using from Hobby Lobby. I picked it up a long time ago when we could use the 40% off coupon. So I think I picked this up for $5 or $6. So I think it's normally $9.99 is the regular price, but I thought this would be perfect for a stencil because I did want to add some color to this one. I'm just using these two colors. This is an olive green, and I cannot think of what the other one is. Amaranth, I cannot say it. So it is just pretty much a light pink color and an olive green color from Arteza, and I love these. I love the pearl colors that they have to offer. They are so pretty, and they kind of look shiny yet matte at the same time. I know that kind of sounds a little weird, but they're shiny, they're pretty, and I absolutely love these two colors for springtime. And I just used a makeup sponge to dab these two colors on, and then while the paint was still dry, I did end up lifting the stencil up, and it was so pretty. And the nice part about making your own stencil is there was no bleed through. The only issue I did have was my sponges were kind of a little too big on some parts. And of course, my unsteady hands kind of moved and got some paint where it wasn't supposed to be. But I think this turned out so pretty. Next sign is a Michigan mitten. This was from Walmart, and I'm just using the Tilled Soil by Martha Stewart to paint the entire sign. I went into design space, clicked on images, typed in home, and this is the home I chose. So this is not any type of font. This is just a already pre-made image from the Cricut design space. And I just used the white premium vinyl like I did with the home sign. Like I said, that packet is just one of my favorites because everything is on sheets instead of rolls. And then I'm just weeding the home sign out. You definitely cannot tell because it's all white. Use the Cricut transfer tape. Use my scraper, scraped off that wonderful little home looking sign and added it to the bottom of my Michigan sign. If you guys can't already guess, I am from Michigan. And then one other thing I decided to do was go back into design space and cut out a tiny little heart and add it where I am from in Michigan. Walmart is actually the same teal color. I'm just using what I had left over from the home sign once again, and I think this is just so pretty. I picked this up at Walmart. You can definitely probably pick up your own state where you live from Walmart as well, but since I'm from Michigan, this is what they had at my Walmart. Next sign actually only cost me $5. I'm just using these little farm animals from Dollar General and some wood we had in our garage. This was just something left over. It's probably definitely not sign material, but that is just what I used because I had it on hand and I thought, you know what, why not? I just cut it. I measured everything, sanded it all down, and then I also had to cut the wood stakes. I picked up these wood stakes for borders for signs. They were from Dollar General as well. They were $1 a piece, and I think they're 3 foot long. But they work out so well to make so many different DIYs. But like I said, I just love making frames with them. And if they only cost $1 a piece, you can pick up 2, and I was able to make a sign. So right here, I'm just measuring everything out so my frame would fit on the piece of wood. And then this is the paint that I use. It is just Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white, and I'm just going to be painting the back of the sign with this white. I also thought it'd be really cool to do a faux shiplap, and if you want to do a faux shiplap, it is super easy. Just take a ruler and take a Sharpie and just make lines all across your sign, and it will give a nice shiplap look. And you could definitely stain these. I always opt out of stain. I think it is so messy, and I love being able to paint in my house, especially when it is cold outside. So I just use an espresso brown and some water to make a stain. And if you guys wanted to know, this sign is a 26 by 10.5. And I had everything on hand except the wood stakes and the farm animals. So like I said, this only cost me $5 to make with my Cricut, and I think that is such a great deal for a brand new sign. Just want to give a nice little close-up of these farm animals. Like I said, these were from Dollar General. They're actually outdoor stakes, and they are so nice. They're just metal, so they can definitely be spray painted, and I'm just using this Krylon flat black fusion all-in-one along with this koala gray and a silver from Arteza. So once everything was spray painted black and dried, I just went in with a makeup sponge, and I wanted these to look more galvanized, so I just started with the gray and then added on the silver, and it makes a really nice faux galvanized look. And then I go back into the Cricut design space, click on text, and I decided to go with this font called A Child's Year. I thought it was really cool looking, and I thought it would look great on these farm animals, so I decided to do Cluck Oink Moo, and these are all about 7.5 inches long. I did measure the animals to see how large or how big I would need the font, and I think this worked out really well, and I could get it on a small piece of vinyl. So you can see the vinyl is already cut. I'm just actually reusing vinyl that I use for the home signs. I never get rid of any vinyl. I always like to reuse all the small pieces. Never throw away small pieces of vinyl because you could make a small decal. You can make small font with them. Just never get rid of vinyl because you never know what size you're going to need. This one I ended up having to redo because I did make it a little bit crooked and it wouldn't come off. This just kind of went on without the scraper, so I just kind of went with it, and it is okay. So sometimes you can use this. Most of the times I use a scraper. Sometimes I can definitely just use my finger. I kind of figured some of the transfer tape would take off this paint. I just went back and redid it. It wasn't really a big deal. You could probably Mod Podge these if you wanted before you put the vinyl on. It kind of helps with the paint going away. I just opted out of that. I just redid it. No big deal. I still had the paint on hand. And I just think these little animals turned out so cute for a faux galvanized look. These little wood cubes I actually just had from Dollar Tree and decided to put them on the backs of the farm animals because there wasn't really anywhere to glue these because they were metal and the insides were kind of farther up and they weren't just a smooth, flat surface. And that is all I did for this sign. This was so easy and I absolutely love this. I actually made a different sign like this recently and I will leave that video in the description box below if you guys want to check it out. There's so many different DIYs you can do with these Dollar General farm animals. This one is another thrifted DIY. This little cutting board cost me $2.09 from Goodwill, and I'm just taking the Waverly chalk paint in black and painting the entire thing. I did sand it down before because it had a really smooth, glossy edge, and I just really wanted the paint to stick without having to do a bunch of coats. So all I did was paint it, like I said, in the Waverly chalk paint and ink, and then once that was done, I went into the Cricut design space. I went right to the images, and I just wanted something really fun and like kitcheny on this one. And this one says just beat it, and I did measure my sign so I knew exactly what size I needed it to be. I went to the bottom left hand corner, unlocked it, and I did a 5 by 10, and then I just cut it out. And I'm just using the white premium vinyl once again. This is just an extra piece I had left over from the other DIYs. Used my transfer tape, scraped it, put it onto the cutting board, and this was just a really quick and easy sign to make. So if you think a Cricut is intimidating, just go to the images in design space, click on something fun, cut it out, weed it out, and you can have a fun sign or a fun, pretty, beautiful, cute sign in just a few minutes. This next one, I wanted to throw in some Dollar Tree items here because I know a lot of you love Dollar Tree. So right now in my Cricut design space, I just went to images, typed in pig, and I chose this little pig silhouette. I'm going to be using iron-on for this one. So I want to show you real quick, you always need the mirror on because when you do iron-on, it is all going to iron on the opposite way that you see it on the screen. So it says mirror on, base material is set to vinyl. I definitely want iron-on. Iron-on plus works as well. That is what I decided to choose. Cricut has so many really pretty iron-ons. These are just a couple of the patterns I wanted to show you. The Strong Bond, I'm going to be using a really pretty pattern I will show you in a second, or you kind of might have seen in the picture that I showed beforehand. But you want your iron-on to be flipped the ugly way or the white side up. You don't want the pattern to show because you want your image to be cut out the bottom so you can weed it through. Whole thing is put the ugly side up so you don't see your pretty pattern when you do iron-on. And if I confused you there, I did a beginner Cricut video, and like I said, I will leave that video in the description box below for you. But I just want to show you guys some really easy things and how to make signs in this video. So there's a ton of different signs, there's a ton of different things you can do. I think weeding iron-on is probably the absolute easiest for anybody to start off using. And this is why you want to do the mirror image, because when you flip it over, that is the way I want my pig to look on my sign. So Cricut, if you go to Cricut.com, they have a heat guide and it will tell you exactly the temperature you need to do an iron-on image. So I need 300 degrees, 40 seconds. I have the Easy Press 2. It is a 9x9 by Cricut. And then I'm just going to be using this piece of wood from Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree has a ton of fun wood pieces. You could definitely use Cricut for so many of those. You could do iron-on. I don't know if you guys knew that you could do iron-on with wood pieces, canvases, all sorts of things instead of just t-shirts. But I love ironing onto wood because it is easy. So my Easy Press did slide just a tiny bit after I put this image on. So you're going to be able to see that the pig's tail is a tiny bit messed up. That is because I let go of my Easy Press for like 2 seconds and it slid. So definitely don't do that. Normally, I don't have that issue, but it obviously does happen. It happened to me. It happens to the best of us. We all mess up. So you're going to see that it did mess up just a tiny bit. But I love being able to pull this up and see that your transfer is on the piece of wood. How stinking cute is this? How pretty is that iron-on piece? So stinking cute. Instead of just making a sign for this, I can make a cute little wreath. So I'm just using one of the foam wreath forms from Dollar Tree. And I love just wrapping all of my wreaths in burlap because no matter what, if you see the burlap is always so pretty to look at anyways, so it doesn't even matter. So I wrapped the whole foam wreath in burlap, and then I'm just using this boxwood greenery. This is from Walmart, and I used 3 bunches of this, and it covered it really, really well. And then I just glued the pig sign right to the center, and you have a really pretty wreath. You guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and I hope this helped you with your Cricut journey. There's so many different fun things you can make, but I highly recommend trying out signs first. I think it is a great beginner project for a Cricut. Definitely try out the vinyl first. I think that is just the absolute easiest you could possibly do. Iron-on is super fun, and the new stencil thing that I use was way cool. Highly recommend you guys to try that. But like I said, if you guys like this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to my channel, I would love if you hit that subscribe button down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!